Florida State, fresh off of an undefeated regular season, an ACC championship, and a snub out of the college football playoff, out to prove the doubters wrong, and Georgia Tech takes down number 10 FSU in Ireland to start the college football season with a bang, with a walk-off game-winning field goal, 24-21. You have to think that Florida State was coming into this season with a bit of a chip on their shoulder. You know, they were great last season. They went 12-0 in the regular season. They had a perfect regular season. They even beat that Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors LSU team. But Jordan Travis suffered a season-ending injury on November 18th against North Alabama. Florida State still turned around and beat Florida and number 14 Louisville in the ACC championship. They were 13-0, had just won a power conference championship and beaten an SEC school the week before. They got left out of the college football playoff because of Jordan Travis's injury. Granted, they did then lose to Georgia 63-3 in the Orange Bowl, but that was a weird game with a lot of opt-outs, which can always make it really hard to evaluate. It was an unprecedented situation and was very, very scrutinized for the committee to leave out an undefeated power conference champion. The good news is that Florida State definitely has a good chance to make it into the playoff this season, since it's now 12 teams and not just 4. You can bet the SEC bias will still be there, but if they just win the ACC again, they're going to be in, barring something insane. As a Hokie, I can definitely tell you I hope they don't, and I hope instead it's Virginia Tech, and Pat McAfee seems to think that'll be the case. But yeah, I mean, coming into this season, FSU was the clear frontrunner for the conference title, and I think anybody who said otherwise might have been lying to you. FSU does look very different this season compared to last season. They put an absolute clinic on at the NFL draft, and they lost a ton of fantastic players from 2023. Obviously, Jordan Travis is the big one because he was your starting quarterback and is always, you know, that's going to be super important. They also had Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, wide receivers, running back Trey Benson, tight end Jaheim Bell, and then on the defensive side of the ball, cornerbacks Renardo Green and Jarian Jones, linebacker Tatum Bethune, defensive tackle Braden Fisk, and the top FSU guy by far, defensive end Jared Verse, who went 19th overall. For those counting, that is 10 guys drafted, a first rounder, 3 seconds, a 5th, 6th, and 2 7ths. FSU only had 9 guys drafted over the first 5 years before that. It really makes it obvious why FSU was able to have such a great season, and I do think you have to give a lot of credit to Mike Norvell for what he's done there. He did start off slow with a 3-6 season in 2020. He followed it up with just 5-7 in 2021, and then they went 10-3 in 2022, and last year, of course, was the big one. But still, no college football playoff appearance, even if there probably should have been one. As far as the new roster goes, FSU maybe isn't what they were last year, but they do have still some dogs, and they have a new quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei, DJ U. He was a great recruit coming out of high school. He was supposed to be the heir to Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. He wasn't. He was there for 3 seasons and disappointed until he had a good 2022 season with 22 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He had 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions last year at Oregon State. He has put up solid numbers in college at times, but he's never had that, oh wow, and I think he's exactly who we thought he was. Now, 2 of the fun big weapons to watch now for FSU is Malik Benson and running back Roy Dale Williams. Funny enough, both are transfers from Alabama. Lawrence Toafili is also a really good back too. He's coming into year 5 at FSU. And then as far as guys that I think you really want to keep an eye on that you can bet on being drafted next year, I really think there's 2. Patrick Payton is the surefire 100% going to get drafted guy. He was the ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2022. He had 6 sacks last season on the defensive line. At this point, it really does seem, from what I've seen, that he's going to be probably a day 2 pick of the draft, but it's going to depend on his season now. And then I am personally just really high on Fintrell Cypress. This is only year 2 for him at FSU, and I have seen him play a lot, and I paid a ton of attention to him while he was at Virginia. I live kind of close to the University of Virginia. I went to Virginia Tech. I'm always paying a ton of attention and usually never miss a Virginia game throughout the year, and I'll tell you what, he was a lockdown corner at UVA. He was great, and I think he's going to project really well at the next level, and he was just a huge recruit in the transfer portal for a reason before he even opted opted to go to FSU. I will say, college football in the morning, seeing that ball get kicked off, finally, the serotonin levels just skyrocketed. Number 10, Florida State. Georgia Tech in Ireland. It's been a long wait, and that's when it was like, okay, we are here. And it got off to a really fun start, and it really felt like it started with two of the easiest offensive drives you're going to see. Toa Philly touchdown for FSU from 28 yards out, took the lead. They then went for two on this weird trick play and got it. Then Zach Pyron punches it in for Georgia Tech. It's 8-7 early, and then it slowed down a bit. We saw a little bit more defense, a little bit more scrappy play, and Jamal Haynes had the only other touchdown before the fourth quarter, and Georgia Tech ended up missing a field goal. But dude, we got to talk about Ryan Fitzgerald, a top kicker in the country, and wow, he proved it. He drilled a 52-yarder in the second quarter. Usually not a far kick that you see a college kicker making. And then, oh yeah, to end the first half and tie the game at 14, he nailed one from 59 yards out. Just an absolutely absurd kick, and that's someone that should be getting his flowers after this game, but that's going to be overlooked now, because after a quiet third quarter, the first play of the fourth quarter, Jamal Haynes rushed up the gut for a touchdown. Georgia Tech took the lead, 21-14 FSU, fully on upset watch, and then Norvell got pretty ballsy, and I loved it. He ended up going for it on 4th and 7. FSU picked up a huge first down. It felt like DJ U really did play well on that drive. It felt like his vision was really there for the first time all game, and he was making the right reads. And then bang, FSU did it again. Gutsy call. They pick up a 4th and 8 to Malik Benson, the Alabama transfer. The next play, Roydell Williams, the other Alabama transfer, scores a rushing touchdown, and it's tied with 6:33 remaining. Georgia Tech gets the ball back, and they kill the rest of the clock. Very slow drive down the field. There was almost a full disaster there at the end with a botch snap that lost 11 yards. Then Eric Singleton, he gets a really good gain, and that sets up an Aiden Burr 44-yard field goal to win the game. A huge win for the Yellow Jackets. Their first top 10 win since they beat number 9 FSU in 2015. So obviously, I at least have to mention Georgia Tech. I mean, after that game, such a huge upset, and I think this is a pretty good football team. I've been saying that all offseason. Head coach Brent Key, he's been there since 2019 after a year at Alabama. He's only been the head coach for 2 years. This is year 2. But what I love is that he was a grad assistant at Georgia Tech. He played offensive guard there in the late 90s, and I'm always just a real sucker for a head coach at their alma mater. For their roster, they really don't have any guys to keep an eye on for the NFL draft, but man, I'll tell you what, they have some dudes that are fun to watch, especially Haynes King. He gives me some Taylor Heineke like fun vibes, and he really did that last year too. He had 27 touchdowns to go with 16 interceptions. The Yellow Jackets last year went a solid 7-6 year 1 for Key. They even beat UCF in the Gasparilla Bowl, and crazy enough, that's actually where Key coached for 11 years, so that was kind of cool. Then there's Jamal Haynes, who was right there, just as an absolute blast to watch. Dude had countless great plays against FSU, just had me wowing. He was a wide receiver at Georgia Tech, and then he switched to running back last year, and immediately he went for over 1,000 yards. That's something Jahmyr Gibbs didn't even do there, by the way. Haynes is just great to watch. Put him with Haynes King, and it's so much fun, and also just ridiculously confusing that they are both Haynes, because that's not a very popular name. What are the chances? Also, I just got to mention Eric Singleton. This is a guy I think that can continue to progress and get even better. He was a stud last season as a true freshman playing wide receiver. Georgia Tech just overall is fun. They're pretty good. Unfortunately for them, though, their schedule's nuts. Every team they play this season made a bowl game last year, and you can bet I'm going to be worried when Virginia Tech plays them on October 26th, the Battle of the Techs.